What up? What up? Sea Talk. You know, we back at it again. I got my man Chris Zapata.
Was
We
good.
two of Sea Talk. You know, two comedians, stand-up comedians, and you know, talking about humor, how humor heals, but also on this episode, we're gonna talk about how humor hurts and whatnot. Interesting stories that come out of humor
Yeah,
and how we became stand-up comedians and whatnot.
yeah.
Um, in school, were you the stereotypical class clown, or was that your story? Let's talk about that. What was it like in school when it came to humor with you?
Yeah, I was, it was the 90s, so it was almost like the it was almost like the thing, right? I mean, all my guys, we were all silly. You know what I mean? My cousins used to say I was like, you're like the Fresh Prince. Everybody was trying to be. I was a silly, charming, goofy guy. You know what I mean? I was teasing with the teachers, all that, you know what I mean? And so I thought I was like trying to be the next Eddie Murphy back. I was trying to be like Eddie Murphy, Will Smith. You know what I mean? We were trying to be silly, but we were just silly because think about it though too. We didn't really have all the stuff now, so we were just being creative and being funny,
Yeah, I think that one
entertain
of the things
ourselves.
growing up in the '90s, especially around black people, and specifically for us, Seattle. You know what I'm saying? It really helped um, in the black community. Really helped groom and mature comedians because we got things like playing the dozens and roasting people.
Right, right, right,
Well, in Seattle, we call it ranking. You know what
right.
I'm
Yeah,
saying? Or capping on people. That was the first.
right,
Capping means something different now. Capping means you're lying. Um,
right.
I just remember going to O'Day, which is an all boys school. I went there for 2 years,
I
and
remember. Yeah.
years that I
Woo.
went there, man, it was like humor boot camp. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
It
I
was
bet.
man, it was like put down, boot camp up in there, man. If you can make it through there, all boys school. I mean, Cass was getting on you. I remember Cass was getting on me because I wore penny loafers. And I'm like, well, we all go to a private
Stop.
school. When we step outside of, this campus, everybody's making fun of us because we go to a private school. I mean, there's some
Oh
people that,
man, yeah.
but, they were calling us old gay, you know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. But anytime we walked on your campus, whether it be Garfield, whether it be Franklin,
Yeah.
whether it be wherever, you got to tuck your young woman classmates because the O'Day guys was coming through looking dapper with positive futures ahead of them, and you might get snatched up. But I always thought it was interesting that people would call me. Oh man, you talk white, you this, that, and the third. I said, man, do you understand when you leave this campus, everybody
Right.
is saying that about you because you go to O'Day? And so
Right.
I would always find a way to take,
Mhm.
a rank or a joke or a roast and turn it back around. So
Right.
they would make fun of my penny loafers. I just start putting dimes in mine. I'm like, they're like, you got penny loafers on. I said, no, 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 I don't. I don't
uh,
have
uh,
penny loafers on.
uh,
These are
uh,
loafers. They'd be like, oh, peace.
right.
Oh. So
Right.
it kind of got around where I could, turn things around. But roasting and capping, man, that really hones your skills. I mean, what was your
No.
experience with like roasting in high school or middle school or wherever?
Listen, I mean, it was like a initiation back in the day. I mean, you got roasted so bad sometimes you had to like sit there and either take it or you got your chops up and just learn how to like snap back. And
Hmm.
I remember seeing a couple of my guys walk out the room because they just couldn't handle it. But I feel like it taught you tough skin. To me, I feel like it taught me about life, like because you realize people aren't gonna like you. Now I get snapped. It's all good. Really
You
rank
still,
it now. Is that the best you can do? Because I don't had the best of them. You know what I mean? and
yeah,
it,
yeah. That's always a good way to deflect it, and that's one of mine. Like if someone you could almost make it through a whole roast session and don't say anything.
Yep.
Just look at him and be like, really, bro?
That's it.
That's it.
That's the
Because
best
I
you can
remember,
do.
was it Meek Mill and Kevin Hart were like going back and forth. I think they were at a party or backstage or something like that. And he just kept saying that to Meek Mill. And that joint was so hilarious. Like, really? Okay, say it one more time, Meek. Meek, say it one more time because I don't think anyone heard you.
Right, exactly.
Funny. You know what I'm saying? And I wanted to ask you, you know what I'm saying? Because I can remember clear as day, you know, the ranks and the put downs that someone said about me and got me. There was one person, and you might know, dude, you know what I'm saying? You might know the brother, D'Amico Flight.
Yeah, I know D'Amico. I remember D'Amico, yeah.
D'Amico Flight. There's a couple of D'Amicos, but I'm talking about I used to go to Garfield and used to go to Ingram. He's the only person that I could really say ever got me back in the day. Really got me. And to this day, the one time he ate me up, man, it was always hard to get him because his delivery was so cold. But I remember one time I stepped up in the room and I had some Timberlands on.
Yeah.
And I had some sweatpants on trying to get my East Coast look on on the West Coast. And I must have stepped in the room. They was playing video games. This dude looked up from the video game. Said, "Look at this dude walking in the room looking like a cluck." I was like, oh, take the L. It was over because I couldn't say nothing to rebound from that blow. Like that was literally a punchline that KO'd me. You know what I'm saying? And I know that you're still heavenly in the game. You're mixing it up with the comedians all the time.
Right.
You guys still y'all still do that, man? Are you still on the receiving ends of people they still be getting on your head? And if so, do you remember anything that someone said to you that's still funny?
You know, it's hilarious though. You know, believe it or not, back in the day, I used to get all the Mexican jokes because they couldn't figure out what I was. So all my guys used to be like, Julio. I'd be like, really? Where's the taco truck? You know, man, I got it hard. And remember, you got to remember back then, man. Like, so I lived in a 1-bedroom apartment with my mother and my sister. So I always got killed because of that. You know what I mean? People don't know. Like, that's why I'm like, the ranks nowadays, you guys gotta like, come a little harder because back then they went in on you. If you had pro wings, you was getting hit. You know what I mean? You know, and a lot of us lived in, you know, we were coming up. We evolved over the years, like hopefully by like our junior and senior year. Once we got like our, you know, jobs, we were like, oh hell, we coming out of this. You know what I mean? And so, but you really got it though. Like if you were on your way, you were like, oh, what's this nigga doing with his little tough skins and corduroys? You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Don't step out the house with the shoes with the Velcro on them. Don't
exactly.
You know, do you ever have a story about a time where your humor you took your humor too far, where you were like the giver of humor and you kind of like look back and be like, man, I could have done that better?
Yeah, there was quite a few times. Because most of us that have done it, unless you resolved a lot of issues, you do it because you're hurt. Mm-hmm. Right? So back then we were trying to be funny because we had, you know, most of us didn't have like dads, you know what I mean? Or our parents were alcoholics. And so I remember all the time, like, you know, being out and trying to be funny and taking it too far with someone and having to find my balance. Yeah. You know, and I think, you know, it's always context, right? Because here's the thing, a lot of people, when people say, I don't, you know, this is what I understand this is what you do, but I feel like it's a skill. You know what I mean? I think you find a balance between how you treat people is different than like, you know, just because I'm a comedian doesn't give me the right to be an asshole.
Yeah, you know, I kind of parallel it to learning how to defend yourself, like learning a martial arts or learning boxing. Right. Like that stuff is supposed to be used in the ring for competitive sport, or to actually defend yourself on the street. And it's funny that you put it like that because I never really thought of it like that until just now. You know what I'm saying? Making that you know, that comparison and that metaphor. And I could just remember times growing up that, I look back at it, man, and people used to call me an asshole,
Mm-hmm.
call me a jerk, because a lot of times I would come into the room and my homeboy, my best friend, Lee, he would be like, "You don't understand. When you came into a room, people had to adjust themselves. They had to get ready and make sure that they got their stuff right because they wanted to. Because if Logic came in the room and you wasn't on point, he's gonna get on your head.
Hey,
He's gonna get on your shoes. He's gonna get on over." I was like, "Damn,"
stop.
And I could just remember certain times, man, like growing up, where I just took it too far. I took it way too far. I remember if I came into your house,
Yeah.
it's a museum of jokes. Oh man, I get that family picture, and I
Yeah.
remember distinctly there was a dark-skinned um, young woman that we were friends when we used to go over her house, and
Yeah.
she had this picture, and she was sitting, and she was dark-skinned and everything, beautiful skin. You know what I'm saying? But and when people say people make fun of other people, comedians or whatever, because they have low self-esteem. That's not it. That wasn't never it for me. It was just
Mm-hmm.
I like the attention and I like to tell a good joke. I couldn't pass up a good joke. And I remember
Mm-hmm.
she had this picture when she was a little kid, and I just remember looking at the picture. Me and my homie was there, and she was there, and I said, "Oh, weren't you a cute little porch monkey?" And my homeboy just started cracking up and laughing. We
Right.
started laughing, and I think about that situation, in my adulthood, and I was like, man, that was just a straight up jerk move. Not only was it just racially, what I'm saying, intense,
Right.
but it was in her house, hurt her feelings, it was on blast. And this is supposed to be, a sister, I was supposed to be talking to, what I'm saying? And
Right.
we were hanging out and we were talking, we were dating, what I'm saying? You can expect that I was gonna make fun of you every now and again in front of people, you know.
Right.
And I remember when I got older and I was in my 30s, true story, Chris, I
But
remember apologizing to her. And I was like, man, there was many times where I was a jerk. And I didn't talk about that time specifically, but I was just like, man, I'm sorry, I apologize. I was a jerk, what I'm saying, I could do done better. Um, do you think a lot of comedians, if you could balance it out and you can speak from
mhm.
your own personal experience, do you think a lot of comedians start off as bullies, or they're bullied, or a little bit of both?
I think that again, it's kind of like our upbringing, right? It's like that's why I try to surround myself with people even now, like that are mature, because the people that we had like the calibers don't feel like they have to be like the people I admire. They don't have to be on all the time. I feel like, and you and I feel like the conclusion I've come to is that I feel like when you know who you are, you don't really have to always like be on. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
You can, because and especially if you're on, you're not really taking in life. If you're always trying to hit something, then there's something. If you always feel like you gotta like show that you're funny, then I feel
Yeah.
like you don't really believe in yourself because you're always trying to convince other people. But it's like, always got to be on. It's like, it's just a part of you, right? So it's like, and like we had to, our reflexes became because we lived in the inner city. So at a young age, probably even before middle school, we were getting capped on like in the neighborhood, right?
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And so, I mean, I think it was more of a reflex that later on in our life, we had to learn how to balance out
Hmm. Do you
because it was,
do you
yeah, go
think
ahead.
do you think when you were younger, do you think you were the bully, or the one getting bullied that really harnessed, your skill of, humor and
It was more defense. It was more of a defense thing because of, I
Mhm.
mean, I think at the end of the day, though, too, because of extremes, you end up, it's like, having to fight every day. After a while, you feel like you almost always got to fight. So you end up having to probably giving out some punches you probably didn't really, mean to give out sometimes, but you were just raised that way, right? So I think
Yeah,
sometimes you have to
yeah,
hone it in. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you'd be like, oh, what's she doing? some guys were just casualties because you just
Collateral
walked in the room at the wrong moment. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
you was dark, so you just got it. You know what I mean? So you just, who's this dark nigga looking like a shadow? You know what I mean? So you know what I mean? So or like me, I mean, not understanding who I was and multicultural, they were just like Mexican, boom, and I just got it. I was like, even now they're like Chavez. I'm like, why, guys? Why? Why I gotta be Chavez? You know what I mean? But it's all good though, because I understand. I understand. It's like it's where I came from, and it's all good. It made me I feel like it made me tough on one end, but I had to find that balance for myself though too. Around I
think when I was younger, it was definitely defensive humor.
Yeah.
I was misdiagnosed, misunderstood, put in special ed. So, I got called retarded. It was rough, getting on and getting off of that short bus, and to the point where my grandmother was a school teacher, and she started picking me up from school so I wouldn't have to get on the short bus.
Wow.
It's like me being labeled having a learning disability growing up, it always was in the back of my mind. You know what I'm saying? The best offense is the defense.
Right.
Versus. And so I think me going in and out of Black communities and white communities, because growing up in Cincinnati and of course Cleveland and whatnot, and then I entered kind of like the upper levels of elementary school, like in 5th grade. I went to Dayton, Ohio, in Huber Heights, and there was more white people there, and I was less percentage. I was a minority there, and I really noticed I really didn't have to defend myself. What I'm saying, outwardly there. Maybe internally I did, because living with that kind of that secret, what I'm saying, that you're in special ed and you get pulled out of classes to do math and stuff like that. And then I moved to Ohio, and then my whole offensive, what I'm saying, strategies of humor and stuff like that was kind of put on hold. I wasn't doing so much to make fun of people. I was making fun in front of people.
Right.
Doing my little skits or interpretations, or every now and then you would put someone down. But when I grew up in Kent and stuff like that, I really don't remember doing that. And same thing when I spent my little 3 years in Issaquah. What I'm saying? I really just, I had my jokes, I had my humor, I did what I did. I had my comedic moments, I had great timing, but it really wasn't on people's head. It wasn't really that I, rebirthed and they got triggered. And when I went, got back into, high school and would start going to O'Day, I was like, okay, yep, I remember this.
Right.
Now now cats is not so much calling me retarded. Now they're calling me, you're gay because you go to O'Day. Now you're white, because you go to a private school, or because because a little bit of the time that I went to O'Day, I was still living in Issaquah. So then that's when I got really back into the more offensive stuff. And I just remember at O'Day, I remember this one dude that was there. His name was Jim. He was like Native American, and he had really bad acne. And we used to get on this guy's head, what I'm saying, almost every single day.
Right.
And his face was like a pizza.
Right.
I remember when LL Cool J had that song "Cars Go By" with the Boom and System.
Yeah.
I would actually put time and effort into my bullying. I would go home and write, rap spoof songs, and I'd be like, "Jim goes by with the boom and pimples." I mean, whole rap verses about this dude.
Right.
And I'm like, damn, man, if I seen this dude, I would really apologize to him too. But it was the culture. It was the culture. I'm not trying to justify it and excuse it. It was wrong. But to today's standards, we were definitely bullies, bro. I mean, I know
think about it though too. You live in a culture right now where we grew up, right? This was part of it was our childhood. It was part of the way our culture, right? Like hip hop. But when you think about it, Wild and Out, like they kind of grabbed the roasting piece
Mm-hmm.
and now and made it something where people are trying to learn it, which it was like, which it's kind of like the rap. It's like taking rap and commercializing it and then selling it, right? And I feel like it's just where it was like hip hop for me and DJing was like my blues, right? You know what I mean? And it was like part of my life in a way that was, you know what I mean? It was different than just watching something on TV or like, and I'm not taking nothing away from what Wild 'N Out is to the culture now, but a lot of those guys would have got killed back in the day by some of the cats that I knew that were murderers in Rankin. You know what I mean? And I think
The thing about, I'm glad you brought up Wild 'N Out. The thing about it is very impressive. It's very impressive, but it's something about it being so polished that, you know what I'm saying? It's just kind of like, you know, it's the rehearsed feeling of it.
it
I mean,
is.
it's very impressive though. The
But
way
you know
they,
what though? The unfortunate thing too is that they definitely have writers. You know what I mean? And so it's not
see,
as,
yeah,
you know what I mean? And so I mean, and this and that's the thing. That's what I'm saying is like it's different than what you're trying to manufacture is what we did on the block.
yeah.
And to me, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not taking anything away from like when I think about like what kind of career how you want to have as a comedian. Would you? I mean, I'm not taking nothing away from anyone that is that desires to be on that or it is like I feel like to me it's almost it's almost the modern day, and you'll get this Hollywood shuffle like.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
The way they take black culture and then they sell it back to us in that form.
yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean,
Real,
if
real Eminem-ish.
yeah, and it's like,
It's like listening to Eminem rap. It's like, man, it sounds really good, but it's just almost too good. It's too technical.
yeah,
You
and
know,
I'm like,
it's missing
yeah,
the soul. You know what I'm saying?
and and when cats try to rank on me like that, I'm like, you're really funny because you've been watching Wild 'N Out. That's kind of cute. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, because
Yeah,
again, like some of the cats, even I remember when when my chops were hot because you had to survive at a certain time in high school because you would just get hit.
yeah,
And you had to like you had to be able to just back cats off you. You know, because if you walked in a room, you get torn up. You had to be able to just you, bam, bam, bam. You had to hit everybody in the room, or
yeah,
else they would be like, "Oh, what you doing, Mexican? Oh, really? We talking about that nigga?"
yeah.
You know what I
And,
mean? Or
and it's you always had that cat back in the days, and that's why I say it's so polished because the real ranking, the real capping, the real roasting and the put down, man, the
yeah,
dozen, man, you always had that cat, man. If you said something and you took it too far or they felt
right,
you far, this cat gonna want to go from the shoulders. He gonna want to fight. I'm
yeah,
like, man, we over here ranking. And that's why we typically had the rule you couldn't say nothing about no one's mama.
yeah, right,
Stuff about people's mamas, man, they gonna want to fight. But it's always funny because dads never were off limits, but moms were.
yeah. No, absolutely. Well, and again, right? Because we all were in a culture though. Most of us had our mama was our lives back, because
Yeah,
we didn't have our pops. You know
yeah,
what I mean? But so we had to really, we all respected that, right? Because Mama picked us all up from the house parties.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? And so
They're disposable. You know what I'm saying? And now as a father, I'd be like, damn, that's the culture I contributed to. It's just like the
right,
degradation, fathers and black fathers. It's like, um, it's just like, I got this joke that I tell, you know what I'm saying, that
mhm.
um that mirrors, those capping, sessions that we've had, like a group of guys sitting on the block and talking about, man, that's why your daddy looked like such and such, across and look like, a crackhead. And
right,
and everyone gets tired and like, and start looking around and be like, what that is his dad. We were making fun of stuff like that. I mean, we were cutting deep, man. We were talking about, you know what I'm saying, things that as we get older now are straight up social justice issues.
right,
And that's the beauty and the appreciation I have of comedy and humor. That's why I tell people, man, are you a clown or are you a comedian?
Wow, that's
Man,
good.
I'm not a clown, man.
Here's
You
the
know,
thing, though, too. You have a lot of clowns. I think that's the thing, right? Like, because you could be a clown. You have a lot of clowns, but you don't have a lot of comedians. Because comedians, I feel like, are funny people, right? Like, I like how this. A lot of people say it this way: like, comics tell stories, or no, comics tell jokes. Comedians are funny people.
mhm.
What I love about, of course, like what you do and what like Chappelle talked about is the storytelling, right? Which
Mhm.
really, that's the guys we love, the Cosbys and the Murphys. They were great storytellers. That's why we love them, and so because they weave the story together, and we remember that story. You know what I mean? And it stuck with us through our childhood. You don't have a lot of that now. You have a lot of people. They're clowns. They want that, funny in the moment, or it's equivalent to the booty scratcher.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, how many times can you talk about your penis? You know what I mean?
I
You know what
call
I mean?
I call that low hanging fruit.
Yeah, exactly. Or titties, or being black, or not being black.
Yeah,
And that's like,
yeah. A lot of people they hide behind that blue humor a lot too, like
or
dog,
smoking weed and all that stuff. Okay, it's obvious.
the
You know
sexual jokes. It's like,
what I
come
mean?
on, man. Like I remember being in roasting sessions, and capping sessions, and whatnot. And there was one particular person, he'd automatically go to the gay or the sexual
Right,
jokes. And, bro, come on, man.
right. It's
Like,
like, oh man.
easy to dismantle, man. I'm just gonna go ahead and break you down. You know what I'm saying? And I always was the person where the clap back was such an applause for me. It's hard for me to rein it in. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm heavy-handed. So I'll let you get like 3 or 4 jokes off on me, and then I'll actually like tell you, hey, all right, bro. Like, all right, sis, just chill. All right,
Right,
whatever, you got it off. Good job. Because when I
right,
clap back, it's gonna be an applause. You know what I'm saying?
right,
And hurting the person and the situation, and because I'm gonna say something that's gonna hurt deep,
right, right.
deep. That's gonna be rooted in a lot of truth. You know what I'm saying too. You know what I'm
Sure.
saying? And that's something that I've always have to work on. But at the same time, in my defense, pun intended, like I don't go out of my way looking for stuff like that now.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? The stuff that, man, I'm a very observational, humorist.
Mhm.
I just see things, but when it gets to the point where I, I, I'm making fun of somebody, I catch myself because I'm like, man, you're too mature now, and like to go out of your way and go get that, it's different than the defending yourself. So it's the same analogy, like martial arts and self defense and whatnot. But I never have lost that observational comedy though.
Well, I
You know,
think though it's more reserved now, right, for the people that we are in our circles, right? Like, if I'm real friend, if I'm close with you, then we can kind of snap at each other. But
yeah.
you're right. I don't go there and like I'm not going to go there and like purposely break anyone down. And even I think in our circles back then, we snapped at each other, but we were also the quickest to like have each other's back in a way that I feel like we don't even understand in this generation because we're such a where we don't understand. Uh, this is a good one though too. We understand a brotherhood almost that we had back then that you don't see now because of like the culture we live in, right? Because I mean, we all were. It was. I mean, that we talked about this last night. That's why we like certain sitcoms because they exhibit some of that brotherhood and connection that we lived out in our teenage years, or some of us going into college, but definitely like in my middle school and in high school, there were some relationships I still have now. You know what I mean? But that we walked with each other through some of the hardest stuff in our lives when you think about it, like whether it was like losing a family member or getting kicked out your house or dealing with an abusive parent. And I feel like, and it wasn't because we were like consciously aware of it a lot of time. It was just because we had each other's back in a certain way. You know what I mean? It wasn't.
Yeah, like the humor that we used to do back in the day, it's really disheartening that it's not acceptable nowadays.
Right.
I feel like if you did it right, it was a delicate balance. Like there was times.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a delicate balance. Like the barbecue, the family reunion, the get-togethers, bro. That's a given. I'm getting on your head. Do not show up to the event dressed something to fit in your outfit, and there's nothing wrong with that. I can't see myself doing that. Now, granted, I got all kinds of jokes in the world in my head in 2021, 22. You know what I'm saying? When you come into the room, best believe I got a whole set on you. But I'm not going to voice that. And I miss that because so much conflict and so much heavy stuff was lightened because you could joke. And it really was a term of endearment. It really was saying
it was absolutely.
You're not really about to come out, and go out in public in those dusted Air Force Ones, bro. You serious? Your shoes look like they got jumped by a whole bunch of Air Jordans.
Right, exactly.
That's not a good look, bro. You want to borrow something fine?
That's a good. I love that though. It's a good point. So let me ask you this question: What do you feel like is the difference between? Can we talk about when you use humor to hurt? What's the difference between the snapping and the ranking, as we call it, and what today culture calls bullying? I think that's. We've been talking about it, like in a roundabout, but I feel like to kind of bring it in.
You know what? That's I think I got an answer. Here's one of the answers to that question. Because the ranking was reserved for a certain cipher or a certain forum. It was like in that, it stayed within that forum, and it's like almost like someone like symbolically said, "Okay, break, we're done."
Yep.
You walk away. And then someone says something about, his shoes or his dad. Say, hey, man, don't be talking about his mom. But we was just not ranking. No, we was ranking, bro. We're not thinking about that no more. Nowadays,
there you go.
That's something about somebody.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a whole thread. And it can last for days.
Yeah.
I work in the schools, Chris. It can last for months.
Wow.
That's bullying, man.
That is. Wow.
See, even the definition of bullying that we're trained in my professional capacity kind of points to the difference between the two. Like bullying is something that's sustained and significant, and you have to tell the person that's not welcome.
No, yeah, right.
That's different than ranking and then being it's like, oh, it's welcome.
Right.
Welcome in this forum, in this safe place.
Yeah,
it's safe places. Outside of those safe places, like, hey, man, no, for real, man, you need a place to stay, bro. For real, I know I got over here.
Absolutely, yeah.
I know. I sit talking stuff about your dad being, alcoholic, but seriously, man, this is a true story.
Absolutely.
But no, true story though. I know we be ranking and talking about people's dads and our mom's boyfriend, but for real, I got the partners, man. We can go over to the house and beat his ass though, for real.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
That's facts. I'm glad you brought that up. That's the difference, man. Like,
now, here's the thing. Like I had the similar situation where my guys that we would rank, they talk about me being Mexican and vice versa. We talk about each other. I remember after my mother passed away, I moved in with some family members, and I was having a hard time with them. And they were like, "Do you need us to go down there and visit them? You know what I mean? And make sure you're good." I was like, "No, I'm good." But they were really serious. Until this day, if something happens, if they see something that's going on, like on Facebook, like with another comedian, they're like, "Do you need us to go snatch this dude off stage?" Because they got love, and that's just where we came from. You know what I mean? Because that's just like you said. It wasn't. There was an equal responsibility for a friendship. I know that was extreme. This is extreme to a lot of people, but I think in the inner city, that's just kind of that's how that love was communicated, was that, "Oh, I got you," or "Your sister are good. Do we need to go down and talk to someone about your sister?" Because
yeah,
you know what I mean. And
technology piece too, Chris.
Yeah,
because now people are going out of their way to go viral and keep reposting stuff to
true, right? That's right, yeah.
man. It's like it's getting to the point where now people think it's such a delicate thing to explain and articulate, because we would make fun of people's parents being addicted to drugs, alcohol, even if they were into prostitution,
Right.
or drug dealing. But there's something that's different about when you're filming someone under the influence of drugs in the streets of Seattle or wherever, and then you post it and then you're commenting on it. There's about that hits different. That's
it's totally right. You're right.
It's just different. It's just different.
It is.
When we were making fun of that person, and I don't know if it makes it any better, it wasn't like it was in their face. It was like they're out of sight and out of mind. Had they been there in the room, we already knew that was the culture. Like, that's not cool. Don't do that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And if we knew that one of our partners was dealing to one of our family members, that's not cool.
Right.
So it's like, stuff just kind of hits different nowadays.
Oh man. Like you said, as you see it in the public schools, right? Or the bullying, how do you, this blows my mind, how do you at the age of like under your teens commit suicide because of bullying? Wow.
Yes, that's the thing, Chris. I think the culture of humor and the culture of, playing the dozens has changed. I really can't remember anyone taking their life because people were telling jokes about them.
Right. That's, it's crazy.
Now, I could see it back in the day, people not telling jokes, but telling truths about you. Like if someone was like, making fun of you because you're gay or something like that, or, well, maybe they did, man. I don't know. I just said I can't think of anything where, cats was just capping and roasting people, and then the guy or the girl who got it the worst, every single day, decided to take their life. It probably looked a little bit different. It probably looked like someone constantly being, criticized for the darkness of their skin or the lightness of their skin, or, if, their parent was, under the influence of drugs or alcohol or something. It probably looked a little bit different. I just can't remember anybody just being like, oh man, Malik killed himself. Why? Oh man,
man. Right? It's crazy. That to me, when I hear about that, I'm like, what in the world is going on to them?
And that's why I say there is something to it when when we say there is the softening of the Generation Z's and the millennials and stuff like that. I think there is some merit to that. I wouldn't say it's just as, reductive, that you can be like, oh yeah, they're just way softer than us. But no, there is something to it where you couldn't just bail out of someone making fun of you back in the day. You had to learn the skills to defend yourself. And in learning to defend yourself, you became a better fighter. And I feel like
absolutely. Yeah.
Or again, with self-defense, I think that's the big difference. If you're less likely to go somewhere and kill yourself, if you're getting bullied every day, if you actually, take time aside and start working on your self-defense skills. And it's just like, oh, survivor of failures, they got to find someone else to beat up. But now it's like you got a whole room of people that you can beat up on because they're not fighting back.
Right. And that's the key, right? That's the key thing is we've all been through that process. As far as like you, not we all, but as far as like our culture, our school, right? We came through that process and developed that skin. And in this culture, because there hasn't been that, and you're dealing with, like you said, social media and everything else. There's no times when you're in the room and you're all just in that moment is snapping on each other because everyone's on their phones, their laptops. You know what I mean? They're not in the moment like that anymore. Think about how creative some of that. It was creative. Some of that, a lot of that was really creative, like writing when some of the snaps. You would And think about how healing it was, though. I remember laughing so hard some days that I was like, I would forget about how hard my life was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think a lot of that is, I mean, the lack of community. So, I mean, if I can use it, if I can use that word, I feel like we just don't have that anymore. You don't have neighborhoods where there's communities anymore, where people are growing up with each other like you and I have. A lot of people, it just doesn't happen anymore.
Thinking back now as you talk, and I'm thinking about how many times, like even going down to, it could help a family member make a better fried fish or fried chicken or a better casserole. You know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
It's like, you can't, I don't know who made this casserole right here,
Yeah.
but it needs to
Right,
never to this space again until it gets a tune up. Someone go back into the, thing and,
right.
um, and touch their skills up. But I think I'm going to speak for myself and you can speak for yourself. The reason why humor healed so much, even though it was manifesting and pulling back the scabs of a lot of hurt, is because I was operating from a position of privilege, meaning that I had a family that created safe places outside of that. When people were beating me up and, verbally and whatnot and doing whatever, they say, you're beautiful. We love what you're doing.
Right, yeah.
It was a safe place that I could come back and tune my skills. And when I look back at it, the funny and ironic thing about it is a lot of the stuff I used to do back in the day were trash, but they were like, yeah, that's funny. That's good. Keep going, keep going, keep going. And I didn't learn till I got into the real world and stepped outside of that safe place that the stuff really wasn't good. And I remember thinking to myself a couple of times, like coming back and never really say it to my family members because I wanted to support. I'm like, man, why y'all didn't tell me that was whack? That was garbage.
Right.
Let me go work on my skills. So I grew up, as the only child for 17 years. And I think that had a lot to do with, my influences and how I crafted my style and whatnot. Because I just spent a lot of time alone with imaginary friends, and you got great stories that come out of those, things. I don't know. But I had an imaginary friend. Not a lot of Black people had imaginary friends that are willing to admit to it, because that sounds like mental illness nowadays.
You know what though? I think it's either that or you find yourself. I think for me it was almost like at a young age, my mother taught me prayer, but it wasn't like in a way of it wasn't a religious thing. So I remember I'd walk home from work because I was living on Beacon Hill, but I lived by Cleveland High School. So I used to always walk a couple miles from home, and I remember being with my thoughts or being able to just pray through my thoughts in a non-religious way. So it was like, I think it was, so whether it's an imaginary friend or whether it's, whatever was God to you or whatever was, I feel like that was the outlet where, again, I wasn't on the phone. I was just like processing my thoughts, and that's how I got to know myself. And I think that's where we don't have a lot of that now. Again, there's no creative ways to slow yourself down because
you make a good point, man. And I want to do a transition, and
yes, sir.
We try to keep it within an hour and whatnot here on C Talk.
Oh, for sure.
But I want to talk about comedic influence. You made a really good point. I don't know about you, but again, I'm gonna go first and put myself out there. My family was really receptive to twisted humor, man. And that became one of my biggest comedic influences. It's just taking the most twisted and unfortunate situations. Let me turn that into a joke real quick. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that became my type of humor. I'm Chris, I'm the person you do not want to sit next to in a funeral, bro. For real.
Right. No, absolutely.
Because I am cracking all the jokes to stop from crying. You know what I'm saying? There's gonna be a time where I break down and cry. There's gonna be a couple of moments where you can be like, Logic, man, would you stop? Man, the pastor's about to kick us out of of the ceremony and whatnot. But what about your family, man? How did they embrace your humor?
I think it was more about, I think I found my humor from my I didn't have a father figure, but I had uncles that were really hilarious. That had so it was their humor and sarcasm, and them just being as funny as they were. That I was like, oh, I want to be like, it really started like that. Watching them be funny and wanting that charm or wanting that humor and wit, and then eventually, like I was at my uncle's and they played Delirious, and then I started getting into Eddie Murphy, but it was definitely started from my uncles. I feel like my family, my, it was just being silly and joking around with each other, and then it just trickles into how you do friendships.
Yeah. Hey, I got my man Tyrone backstage right here. I'm gonna bring him in for the last.
Yeah. All right, this is good. Right, perfect timing. Perfect timing. Yeah.
Timing. Peace, brother. Peace. What's going on? How you doing?
It's Big Ty. What's good, man? What's good, man?
Yeah. So Chris and I are gonna go first because we already got warmed up. We didn't talked about, I didn't kind of sat on the couch a little bit with Chris, man, and Chris, his pastor days came out, man, because his life coaching days came out because I had to confess to him, man, that I was a bully back in the day, man. Hey, man, Tyrone, man, I was bad, bro. Like, I had to apologize to some people when I got in my 30s, man. I said, man, in high school, man, I was not a nice guy. And it was all for jokes, but they didn't understand my humor.
Right.
It wasn't a part of the cloth.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and I knew that, and I knew they weren't able to really fire back. But I'll go first. And let's to make the transition. We're talking about like influences of our styles and stuff like that. And I'll go first, talking about our top 5.
Okay.
And, I will say my top 5 is sterilized. My top 5 does not include Bill Cosby for obvious reasons, even though maybe on a different day, if I was in a different mood,
right.
We'll keep it a kilo, he'd be on there. But he is the best storyteller in my book. But I got somebody that I put in instead of him. But my top 5, in no particular order, of my influences, Chris Rock, Richard Pryor, Dave Chappelle, Dick Gregory,
Robert Townsend.
Robert Townsend.
Okay.
I put him in there. Well, actually, my Dick Gregory is my Bill Cosby substitute because
Dick Gregory was a beast, though. I think people don't realize. I feel like people don't. He's not mentioned enough because
Dick Gregory was funny. He didn't cuss back in the day, and I was a big scholar of Dick Gregory back in the day when I was in college. I went back and researched, and I bought his book, Nigger, and then he had the one joint.
I forgot about that one. Yeah.
I'm going to butcher the title. It's something about sitting on the back of the bus. I read both those novels, and I just loved the way he was able to use social justice and confront racism without cussing and still be funny. I remember he had this one joke I'll never forget. It's an iconic Dick Gregory joke. He said a Klansman came up to him and said, while he was sitting at a whites only section of the restaurant, he said, "Boy, whatever you do to that fried chicken, I'm gonna do to you." He said he picked it up and he kissed him.
That's hilarious.
And Dick Gregory, he got older and got real grouchy, and he started to curse, and we'd be like, "Damn, okay, Uncle Dick, okay."
See, that's where I'm getting to that point now myself.
So it's just like, I'm a principal now, so when I'm on stage to protect my reputation and sometimes my professional integrity, so people don't try to get me fired, because people try to get me fired with my hip hop, and I don't even really be cussing in my hip hop. I don't I don't even cuss, you know what I'm saying, unless I'm quoting someone else. And so you go next, Chris. What's your and you can feel free to comment and say, "Oh, people got to do, oh my God, top 5. You don't got Patrice O'Neal on there. What's wrong?"
Right. like we. Well, okay, I have two top fives. I would say, like,
Okay.
I have my long range influences, like, like, okay, like you got Robin. I got my Robin Williams, Eddie, Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy. I would, I'd say Red Fox. And let's see, when it comes to my long range. Let's see. I would put. I'm gonna throw Jamie Foxx
Yeah, yeah.
on
He
there.
almost made my
I'm gonna
top.
throw Jamie Foxx on my long range. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah.
'Cause Jamie's a beast. People don't. I mean,
Did you say Robin Williams or Robin Harris?
I put Robin Williams.
Oh, Robin Harris a beast too, bro.
Robin Harris is a beast though too, though. But as far as,
You did a little affirmative action there. I see what you did there. I thought about doing that too. I thought about doing that. I ain't gonna lie.
but see, and those are my long range ones because the people I respect. It's kind of like I say it like this: like I like Dave Chappelle, but he's not like my favorite. You know what I mean? So it's not like I'm a move heaven and earth to go to a Chappelle concert. I respect him; he's a great. You know what I mean? I'm not knocking. Or we talked about like George Carlin. Great, he's great, but I don't think Paul Mooney gets enough for being a truth guy either. You know what I mean?
And I told you I feel the same way.
That's right. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Because Paul Mooney, man, and I saw Paul for the first time when I was like, my mother got me tickets to see a ticket to see Raw when I was like 12. Paul was one of the first live guys I saw, and I was like, I was tired because him and Eddie worked me over. But yeah.
Here's the deal with Paul, man. I like Paul. I've seen Paul before.
You
Paul's cool, man, but I have an issue with people that just get up there and just don't rehearse anything, and that's the Paul Mooney I saw. I saw a Paul Mooney probably about 10 years ago, and it wasn't bad.
Right.
The Paul Mooney that we all have seen, but it was just like him up there just talking stuff, and I'm like, oh, it's cool.
Well, he already said everything he was ever gonna say by that time, too.
Yeah. I think so. I think, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
But like I feel the same way about a Paul Mooney, the same way I feel about George Carlin, the same way I feel about Lenny Bruce. I feel like they have good comedic math, they have good delivery, their pacing is really good, but they're not always laugh out loud funny. They're funny though. Don't get me wrong, Paul Mooney is funny. He's brilliant.
Like what?
It's like, and the reason why Chappelle is on there now is because of the maturation and the graduation of Dave Chappelle. There was a time where you could say, yeah, he's the king of skits. He's the king of skits, man. The dude, does
true.
Bits. And a person who does bits like myself and, and writes like that, like, yeah, he's good. But to make I wasn't, Live at the Fillmore was cool. I thought that was cool. It was solid. But Dave Chappelle, prior to these last two specials, has been, and he still has flashes of this, it's been very sophomoric. He's very sophomoric. He'll just say some like,
true.
Just off the wall, like high school stuff, and it's just like, he said, like when he was talking about the homeless person broke into his car back in the day and stole the candy bar, you know what I'm saying? And he starts running down the street and, asking homeless people, checking them, saying, man, what's that on your lips? What's that? It's like the candy bar. Oh, no, that's shit. It's like, it's funny because it's so sophomoric, but it's not like the math that he's doing now. The math he's doing now, it's like, man, I shouldn't be laughing at this like math. And he's always done that, but it just graduated to a different level. And I feel like, I had to put Robert Townsend on there. You know what I'm saying? Because just the writing behind the scenes. And I think Robert's one of those people is this. I'm going to be honest with you, man. And I wanted to ask y'all this too. I'm going to keep it a kilo.
Yeah.
I never really seen Robert do stand-up. I put him on my comedic list because he's just a brilliant mind.
I think I've seen him do it once. I think I've seen. There's not a lot of footage of Rob. Have you seen him at all?
See, I'm glad I'm not. See,
have you seen Robert Townsend? Dude.
Tyrone, he's talking to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't. It don't come to me as much. I see. Well, there's some dudes that just in my mind fall into the executive producer role, and it just whether they've done stand up or not, they just to me they an executive producer like Ken Ivory Wayans.
Exactly. We were talking about that. We were talking about him too.
They've done stand up, and you'll see them speak somewhere behind the microphone, and it's funny every time, but I haven't watched a 1 hour set with the guy. But
right.
Everybody y'all mentioned anyway precedes me. I was never a comedy connoisseur like that. I'm just now getting to the point where I'm starting to do my studies,
Okay.
But,
so you ain't got a top 5 yet.
Yeah. Black.
What you got?
Hold on, no. Hold on before you get into yours.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to say my present top 5. Like I have like.
Okay, go ahead.
Those are my long-term influences. My immediate influences are like
3 top 5s.
Exactly, pretty much, right? Exactly. But yeah, I do actually because I think about like the writers, right? I'm into the writers too, but I would say like my present top 5, the guys I try to emulate, people I try to emulate now. Gina Brillion, she's out of New York.
Okay, I gotta look that up. Okay.
Russell Peters. My guy here, Tyrone Hawkins, David Arnold, and Roy Woods.
Okay.
Yep. Those are the guys. Those are the people. Those are the people I try to look at. I study like with a fine comb because the creativity is to me. Those 5 right there are my 5. Like I don't care what everyone else is doing. That's hip hop to me. You know what I mean? And so.
Yeah.
What's that?
That's peer review. These are your peer reviews.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I really, because I mean,
development stage,
they're memorable to me, and the reason why because I feel like each one of them they have memorable. They leave an impression with you that you want to hear what they got to say, and they have that creative spark. I feel like that that's also like the great comedians to me that leave that spark. You know what I mean? That comedic spark where you're like, they're memorable. You know what I mean? You want to feel that again when you see them. You want to feel that joy, or they're gonna say something that's gonna be like, that's stupid. You know what I mean? And so, but there you go.
I go in and out of that sometimes, man. Like there was for a while, like one of my biggest influences was, like I said, Dick Gregory, and then it was like Chris Rock came out with that one special when he said the difference between black people and niggas. I love black people, but I can't stand niggas. That whole stand up that's
one of his best. I feel like though too.
But there was a time where when Hannibal Buress was doing his very dry humor, I was just like really feeling that style. And there's a part of me that I know a lot of people can't really do it. And there's a part of me that is very dry, and I really, really like that. And then there was a time, of course, when Kevin was doing his thing, and Kevin's just funnier than his jokes, and I think he's a really, really underrated storyteller, and I really like storytellers. And so there's a time where but a lot of people started biting Kevin's style, man, and I was just like, man, I can't get with that. You know what I'm saying? So.
Who does it nowadays? I mean, it's crazy.
Like Little Rel, probably the most to me. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, really, I feel like I don't know who came first. I mean, because I know Little Rel used to open up for Kevin. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, I like Little Rel though. But it's just like that style kind of, it kind of wore out. But some of his mannerisms, his catchphrases, his ad libs are just freaking priceless, man. Like, all right. It's like, damn, why didn't I think of that? But you didn't think of that because allegedly that's really what his dad would be like. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Learn the day.
Yeah.
Before I get to Tyrone real quick, I want to ask y'all something real quick, and this is where if y'all really wanted to test me. And I called myself out, in pure comedic form before y'all could Y'all could have really got me on the Robert Townsend, because one of the things that people do is they say, well, you tell me one of his jokes if he's all that. Do you live by that? By that metric system? Because I remember, and who didn't make my list, which he should have made my list. I remember when Cat Williams, he goes on his rants. That's a bad man. Cat Williams is a bad man. Mm-hmm. That man is, that boy can go. I remember he was talking about Tiffany Haddish.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, she's overrated. Da, 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 da. Name one of her jokes. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Cincinnati, Ohio, because he's from Cincinnati like me. But but do you bear witness to that metric system?
Me?
That a comedian is good. Either one of y'all, that a comedian is good if you can at least name one of their jokes.
Break it down, Ty. Yeah.
So the reason we even have top fives is because comedians fall into their category like sports people do, as a celebrity or popularity. So there's always a dude that dunked just as good as Michael Jordan, if not better, but we don't know who he is. So when it comes to catchphrases and things like that, that popularity a lot of times is what gets you, and gives people the overall rating. That's why I feel like Kevin Hart's popularity, because he got the machine behind it.
But he got some iconic jokes too, though, bro. I can name probably like 5 or 6 of his jokes off top.
Yeah, and you naming jokes also too that his writers team helped him put together too. So there's the factors of who our teammates are.
That's not true. Kevin says that's not true.
You know what though? I mean, here's the thing though. I mean, here's the thing I would say though too is the difference. Is the difference between
Richard Pryor and Paul Mooney writing for him too.
He did true. Eddie as well.
Well, Eddie,
yeah,
I think Robert Townsend, was writing some stuff.
Yeah,
except for hilarious.
You got to give credit to the whole package. So there's validity in exactly what you're saying though. When you got catchphrases, especially you got multiple catchphrases, when the person delivers the package, man, you got to give him his accolades. How many times have we said you're gonna learn today? That
right,
man.
Absolutely. There you go. Hey, right there you go.
How many times have we said that? And so I agree to a certain degree, man. That it's like, yeah, if a dude gonna say something and then they keep on saying it through the years, like Eddie Murphy and them, and the movie backs it up. They stand up movie, the stand up film that came in. I just was online a couple days ago, going back and forth. All these lines on the Nutty Professor alone. That ain't even a stand-up book, but we 98, 99, 100. You can choose. You can put some beef in your taco. You know what I mean? Saying all them little one-line killers, man. They still wrote that stuff. Yeah, it count. It really do count. It make it. That's what push you up to the top 5 is when you got catchphrases.
Yeah.
Look at what's his name. He came out with that song, "Living My Best Life."
Yep.
Hey, he ain't never got to work again, bro. If he don't never do another joke, living my best life.
He didn't have to. I mean, all he did was 20 minutes of jokes when he was here, and he was.
Yeah.
You don't got to do a whole lot.
We're gonna get to that. We're gonna have a whole session. We're gonna talk about these internet comedians and skit people that
that's a whole nother
transition to
that's a whole new lane, man. That's a whole nother lane.
It is.
Some are very, 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 very successful at it, and others not. I'm gonna give a shout out to my favorite one who made the transition. I give a shout out to Ryan Davis. But I would love to talk about like Country Wayne and Just Hilarious on another episode and what y'all think about them. But at the same time, I know especially Chris. I don't know so much about you, Tyrone, just because I don't know. But I don't want you to be talking about your peers and your colleagues, and then they come to town talking about what you talking about on this show, boy.
Yeah.
I couldn't make the transition, but I don't know. Like you see Young Fly and those cats.
You can't be a sensitive comedian, though. I mean, we all.
Oh yeah, comedians are super sensitive people.
Yeah, man, I got so many stories, man, about sensitive comedians, man.
I work with a lot of them, man. And a lot of the
Let me tell you this
celebrities
one
that
story, and
taught
then I
me.
want to get to Chris and ask him what he thinks about you know, being able to name someone's joke as a metric system. I like to sit in the front row. You know,
Right.
back in the day and I think it's okay, and I think it's appropriate to call the parlor a legendary spot.
Oh, it was, yeah, back in the day. Yeah, absolutely.
Rest in peace, the parlor. But I used to
Right.
go there to make it a point to sit in the front.
Right. Right.
There's this white comedian there. I can't remember his name, man. I really want to know his name. And I was there with a date. And if anyone knows me, man, I suffer from sleep deprivation. Now I can take a nap anywhere. Anyways, it's like the point I'm trying to make is this is a medical and health thing with me. You know what I'm saying? I just doze off, man. I'm tired, Might have had a drink that night too. You never know. I might have added to it. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I wasn't drunk though, for real. Let's just be clear. We're gonna go ahead and
Taking a
eliminate
night. You was taking a night.
eliminate that option of the story. All right. So I'm here at the show, man, and dude's doing his set, feel me? And I doze off. And then no. So usually when I'm in the front row, like I remember Bill Bellamy came with his people. They funny.
Yeah.
And usually I tell them, what they're doing their set, and I give them that look, say, hey man, go ahead, go somewhere else, bro. Yeah, bro. This is what I do. I do this, bro. And they be like, oh, okay. All right. Anyway, let me talk about this over here with this shoes on. Okay. All right. So this dude didn't do that. This is a white dude who don't know the culture. I don't know. His set wasn't bad. That's not why I went to bed. That's not why I took a nap. I took a nap because I'm tired. I work 60, 70 hours a week sometimes. So, anyways, this dude starts to go in on me, start snapping on me. Oh man, you just gonna fall asleep on during my show. But it's like he's going in, but he's mad. And I said, oh man, I wake up, I'm like, oh, this dude's talking about. Okay, here we go. We on. Let me just go ahead and give him a couple one-liners. He's gonna go away. You feel me? I'm like, man, nah, man. Look, leave us alone, bro. This is what I do, man. I do stand up. You don't want to know. Oh, you just do stand up. So if you do stand up, you're just gonna come and fall asleep with someone's show. And the way he was coming at me, it wasn't even no joke math. It was just anger. And I'm like, bro, why are you tripped? Like, man, just do your set, bro. You're getting, and then I just start being like, what I'm saying, fundamentals with him. Like, you're getting off your set, bro. And I'm looking up and I'm like, bro, just do your set, bro. This is not a good look, bro. You just
Oh no,
it's not a good look, bro. You're not being funny now. Just do your set, man. I'm not gonna apologize for falling asleep during your set, bro. Just go. Then he calls the bouncer over to remove me from the show. They try to like, position me as a heckler. Man, I did not go nowhere. I just sat there and said, man, because I've done stand up there before. I've opened up for certain people there. So the bouncer dude knew me, and I was like, man, I'm not leaving in front of my date too, man. You're trying to embarrass people, dude. Like, you're taking this too far. So after the show, I came up in there, and he was like talking to people and stuff, and I did this on purpose. I went over to him. I just stood there. Oh, you're the guy who went to sleep. I said, bro, why are you so mad? The fuck you mean talking about why I'm so mad? Who does that? You're a comedian. You should know that's the worst disrespect you can ever do to comedians. Fall asleep at the show. I said, bro, I was just tired. Just finish your set. Are you serious right now, bro?
Right.
Point, like, it was almost to the point where I didn't even want to tell no jokes. I didn't want to get on dude's head. I just wanted to smack the mess out of him. I wanted to smack every punchline out of him. Just punk him. And I was just like, bro, like, get your stuff together. I want us, man. Don't quote me on this. Now, I'm not even going to say the name because I don't even know if it's true. Now, I'll tell you offline. I'll tell you offline who I think it was.
He going to see this episode like, he's talking about me.
Right, exactly.
No, but I don't want to get it wrong because it doesn't sound like something he would do. But I'm almost positive it was him. I'll tell you offline. I might put it in the chat. I'll put it in the private chat. But anyways, before we close out, real quick, do you think that's a good metric system though? Like if you're able to name someone's jokes or not? Because I just now named Dick Gregory's joke. I named Kevin Hart's jokes. I've named Chris Rock's joke. You think that's a good barometer, Chris? If you can name someone's jokes.
I think so. I think I believe it's like one of the reasons why I admire the people I admire, because there's something that's they leave with the people, right? I mean, Tyrone, you speak to that because we talk about it all the time.
Hey man, yeah, because that's where you get merch from, bro. That's That's how you get merch. That's that extra bonus money at the end of the show. Like, man, that's his catchphrase. That's money. Yeah.
It's true.
Hey, remember when Bill Bellamy, what did he say? Can you help me? Can you help me?
Yeah, I don't. Man, I think if I go,
all them little catchphrases, if they put their stamp on it, that's money, man.
It's true.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So when we're talking about when you use humor to hurt, that was what we was talking about. We was talking about just growing up and how we would take that hurt that we've had, having alcoholic parents, drug addicted parents, being kicked out of your house, your cousin deals drugs, your uncle got AIDS, your other family member is gay. We take this hurt, me being a special ed, and then we transfer it into humor. And we were talking about that. So when we talk about, as we're older now, I'm gonna go ahead and assume that we're all in our 40s. I'm pretty sure, what I'm saying. I'm 46. Like, what's the plan of action when we talking about using humor to heal your hurt? Like, what will be the plan of action? What will be y'all advice of how you do that on like a routine basis? What y'all think?
Your own personal hurts.
Yeah.
So as a kid, I was always the short one.
Hold on. Tyrone, we're gonna go to Chris because you breaking up, and I'll come back to you. Chris, what you think, man?
What do you mean as far as what's the action plan as far as like for myself, or is it
what's the action plan? You know what I'm saying? As we move forward, when we talk about how you use humor, to heal hurt, as opposed to using humor to hurt other people, like how do you do that on a regular basis? Like if you see something real funny, but that it's gonna hurt someone's feelings, like what's the plan of action to get that humor out without hurting someone?
I think it's like anything else. I think you got to, I think it's like understand the why, right? Around, and because the why I think is puts things into purpose, but also it's like wisdom. I feel like it's always about, is this beneficial in the moment? You know what I mean? And how is this going to affect this person? You know what I mean? It can be funny, like. Just because I have friends that sometimes they try to be funny, but it's like, it's not tactful. You know what I mean? And it's like, man, I get it. You're funny, but it's not tactful and it's really not classy. You know what I mean? And I get that you're at this level, but it's like, it's not classy. It's, you know what I mean? And so to me, that's what keeps them at a certain level. Even in I can't admire someone like this. It's like, you know what I mean? Because I feel like, the people we admire and this, the people we try to be is like, it's like, is it beneficial? Is it going to contribute to like uplifting this person? Because even when you're being funny, if you have the intention of bringing joy to someone or to a situation, it's going to be uplifting. The energy is going to be right about it. And I think, so I think it's about intention and about, why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you saying what you're saying? You know what I mean? And so I think, so it's always having that awareness. You know what I mean? It's
What you think, Tyrone? If you know that humor can heal a situation or it can hurt the situation, like how do you make that decision in the moment on a routine basis? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man.
He's in and out. But
yeah.
I would go back to what to fill that gap real quick. I would go back to it's the idea of whenever I have a heckler, right? I still have that decision to make this situation either good or bad. I could get mad like the guy, but how is it going to benefit and take me out of the moment when if I stay in my set, I'm still bringing joy to everybody else. Mm-hmm. And eventually that guy's going to fade away because I'm not giving him any attention. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's what I give my attention to. I think you just got to know why am I doing this? That guy was in his ego because he was trying, he was so trying to be funny. And I think my challenge with that, whoever that was, would be like, were you there to really like entertain people, or were you really like trying to be something that was a little more extreme? Because that's the only reason why one person can take you out of everything else. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I also think he was probably just not having a good night. You know how some of your sets just go good and you had expectations. That's why you shouldn't have expectations.
But also, too, here's the thing: some of the greatest people we admire, though, too, right? Though it doesn't matter what's going on with them; they just know who they are, and they're going to
right.
You know what I mean? I mean, that's why. I mean, the obvious Michael Jordan, right? I mean, no matter what you say to him, he's going to come and his goal. Remember, his goal that night was to inspire that one person who's never saw him. Who's never saw him live, remember? And so it didn't matter who was going to come at him that night. I'm going to go ahead and give these guys that person that's been out there, that's never seen me live. I'm focusing on that one goal. And I feel like, you got to have that why. You got to be so insecure in what you're doing or build it. You know what I mean?
That's a big component of education. That's why I like that you said that you created that intersection between education and comedy. We always ask ourselves the why. Why are you doing this? When it comes to education. My plan of action or action plan when it comes to that is very simple. Of how you can use humor to heal. In hurtful situations is I use humor when I feel uncomfortable, but I'm very transparent when I do it. It's not like I'm trying to cover up anything.
Exactly.
Sometimes I might even apologize. I'd be like, look, man, I'm about to tell a joke right now because I feel uncomfortable. And when I feel uncomfortable, I'll make humor out of the situation. I'm not saying that this situation is necessarily funny, but this is the way I cope because humor is an emotion. It's a form of my emotional intelligence. So like when you're in relationships with somebody, whether it's romantic, platonic, or professional or whatever, if you feel like it's getting heated and it's like very uncomfortable, or you feel like a truth needs to be said, inject but let people know that the punchline is coming. Don't be stealing on people. Like, hey man, I know this is a serious situation, but I'm about to say something really funny to try to lighten the mood. You know what I mean? I do that all the time, man, especially in relationships with loved ones, romantic, platonic, business or whatever, man. I use humor to lighten the mode. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I think you got to be able to laugh. I think you got to be able to laugh at yourself, though, too, right? And that's what makes it. I think that's what definitely lightens everything. Is that I can laugh at me, so when I'm on someone else, it's not a me versus. You know what I mean? I'm there to like laugh at life, and I think that's where I feel like that's what good comedy is all about. Being able to like just take life and laugh at all of it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hey man, it's been a great show, man. We'll have to get Tyrone.
Oh yeah, man! Shout out to Tyrone Hawkins for coming. He's on a cruise ship, getting ready to go ahead and do some big stuff.
Wonder. Say less, man. That's the reason why the connection wasn't coming. I mean, the Dolphins is down there messing with his connection, man. The Dolphins
exactly. So
and knocked out his Wi-Fi.
So safe travels to him, and hopefully, safe.
Yeah, we'll talk.
Safe travels in every way, because the way everything's going with the health stuff too, man.
Yeah, exactly.
But we appreciate him for dropping in, because I really, definitely.
All right, talk. Yep. Make sure you share this, comment, get in the comments. Yes. I've been saying that the whole time. Thank you, Chris.